recording and confirm the live broadcast has started, please.
Thank you, Chair. The recording has started. I'll just await confirmation from Jill that the live stream has started. Yep, we're live. We're live, Chair. Thank you.
Good morning, all. Can I welcome you to this Formartine Area Committee on the 28th of April 2026. It will be fully virtual. I'll just go through some housekeeping. As usual, members can activate their cameras when speaking to enable you to join by video, but please turn your camera off and mute your microphone when not speaking. Please do not comment during items unless invited to do so. If members wish to speak on any point, please raise your hand in the Teams meeting, or if you have dialed into the meeting, you can raise your hand by pressing *5. And if members lose connection or have any technical issues during the meeting, please alert the committee officer, or alternatively, support is available from the ICT officer, who in this case is going to be Brian Black. Claire, can I ask you to take the centre, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'll start with Councillor Crawley.
Present.
Councillor Davidson.
Present.
Councillor Forsyth.
Present.
Councillor Hassan.
Present.
Councillor Johnston.
Yes.
Councillor Lang.
Present.
Councillor McAllister.
Present.
Councillor Nicholl.
Present.
Councillor Owen.
Here.
Councillor Ritchie.
Present.
I have apologies, Chair, from Councillor Sterling, who will join us as soon as she can this morning, and yourself, Chair, Councillor Taylor.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Now, before we progress to the agenda itself, there is a preliminary announcement I would like to comment about. The committee, I'm sure, would like to recognise the talent of Turriff Academy senior girls football team, who have had an outstanding and historic season. Earlier this month, the team won the Aberdeenshire Schools League Cup final, defeating Inverurie and also securing the Aberdeenshire Schools League title. They then went on to win the Champions of Aberdeen City, Aberdeenshire and Highland Schools competition. I'm sure you'll agree this is a tremendous achievement and one that the teachers and the area are immensely proud. It reflects not only the commitment and talent of the players and staff involved, but also the strong values that underpin life at the school. Turriff Academy also want to recognise Alan Shearer, the principal teacher and faculty for health and wellbeing, and Leslie Chapman, pupil wellbeing worker, for their compassionate leadership, relentless support for the pupils to achieve their very best. And I would say, well, very well done to them all.
Here, Chair. Well said. Absolutely.
Thank you very much indeed. I'll move to item 1, declaration of members' interests. Members, please state if you've any interest to declare, and if you have, please clarify the agenda item number, nature of the declaration, and whether or not you will leave the meeting. Councillor Ritchie, Derek, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wish to make a transparency statement in relation to item 4. I did attend an event during the summer almost 2 years ago. I have taken advice on this and done the transparency objective and feel I can take part in item 4. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Nicholl, Jenny, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll make a transparency statement for item 7, but as it's going to be held probably in private session, I'll wait until we get to that point in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Owen, Gillian, please.
Thank you very much. Just the same transparency statement that Councillor Ritchie made. I've attended events at many. Thank you.
And presume you will stay in the meeting as well.
Sorry, yeah, I haven't got that bit of paper in front of me, but yeah, I don't think there's have a declaration to make, but want to make the transparency statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 2, resolutions. Do you agree that resolutions on equalities?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. And do you agree that the public and media representatives be excluded from the meeting for item 7 on account of the likely disclosure of exempt information described in the Act?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 3 is the minute of the meeting of the 24th of March. The minutes are for approval as a correct record only. Can we agree them as a correct record, please?
Agreed.
I thank you. I know it. I see Claire's hand. Claire, please.
Thank you, Chair. Since the last meeting, let me just reference item 7, which is on, and I'm referring to page 9 of the agenda pack. In the at the items that we agreed, point F, it was highlighted to me the proposals will lead to a loss of 22 hectares of prime agricultural land, and even when the land is reinstated, it will not have the classification. I've been asked to reword it to it will not have the same classification. If everyone's happy for me to add that word.
Sorry, Claire, apologies, Chair. We're all online. Chair, could I ask through you, Claire, can you just repeat that for me, please?
Yes, sorry. So it's on page 9, point F, and the comment that was made by committee was the proposals will lead to a loss of 22 hectares of prime agricultural land, and even when the land is reinstated, it will not have the classification. So I've been asked to reword the end of the statement to read, it will not have the same classification, just to be a bit clearer.
I'm fine with that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Ritchie, happy with that clarification?
Yeah, I certainly am. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. We move on to item 4, the planning application for land at the Balmedy International Golf Course. Laura, can yes, I will take Councillor Davidson at this point.
Thank you. I just wanted to point something out. So on page 19 of our report, so the first page of the reason for report, in item 1.1, Councillor McAllister and I have referred this to committee, and the last sentence of Councillor McAllister's reason is actually my reason. They've got conflated. So I just want to make it very clear that we haven't done this together by any, the wording is in the wrong place, and we haven't worked together on this or anything. So it's an error that the same wording's in both reasons for referral.
Thank you very much. Now, there is a request to speak. Committee, are you content to hear from the parties?
Yes.
I am, Chair, but Mrs. Young had her hand up.
Claire,
Sorry, Chair. Yes, I was just going to mention that we did have requests to speak if the committee wanted to agree that before we moved on, but I can confirm that we have the agent on behalf of the applicant and our objector present with us now online.
they're online. Okay, thank you. Can I welcome the 3 requests to speak, Mr. McMurray, Ms. Barber and Mr. Menloff. Welcome to the Formartine Area Committee of the 28th of April. Please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt the other speakers. If you do, you may be removed from the meeting. You will have 5 minutes to speak, then members may ask questions. You will then be entitled to remain in the meeting, but you are not entitled to speak again. But first, we'll hear from the planning officer. Ms. Dingwall, can you introduce the item, please, Laura?
Chair, sorry to interrupt. Can I just confirm that Mr. McMurray and Miss Barber are here together as one party? So it's technically 2 requests to speak, but we do have 3 people. But just for the timing when we move on to that bit.
Mr. McMurray and Miss Barber.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
yes,
correct. Yeah.
Chair, I can confirm. Yes, that's correct.
So you'll have 5 minutes to speak between the two of you once we get to that stage.
Yeah, understood. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Laura, please, can you introduce the item?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Can everyone see the presentation? Yes. Okay.
Yes, we can.
So good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to apologise for my voice. I do hope it holds out for the presentation, so bear with me. Okay. So the application is for full planning permission for an extension to the existing car park and the creation of a footpath at Trump International Golf Course. So members may be aware that when this application was originally submitted, it did include the erection of a golf cart storage building. This building has now been removed from that application. The red line application boundary has been amended to reflect this. So the golf cart storage building is not part of this application. So any of the consultation or any of the comments within the documents online, the cart sort is ignored from that, is excluded from that. We're only considering the car park and the proposed footpath. I'd also like to highlight to members that works have commenced on this site. There has been sand moved in order to form the car park and the footpath that's being proposed here. The works have not been completed. They have been halted subject to the determination of this particular planning application. Okay, so the site is located within Trump International Golf Course, which is, as we all know, is located north of Balmedy. So we can just see the site is just here. This is the amended site, red line boundary. And then this indicates the land that the applicant owns. These yellow sections here are the sections that are not in their ownership. We've got a couple dotted around the application site as well. Okay, so the works proposed are to the sort of north of the existing car park, adjacent to the clubhouse. So this blue building here is the existing clubhouse on the golf course. And then this area here is the existing car parking spaces. So the coloured areas are is the proposed development. So the applicant seeks to extend the existing car park to form 179 additional car parking spaces. Included in that is 6 additional accessible car parking spaces. The car park will be finished in asphalt to match the existing surfaces of this car park to the south here. The application also includes the formation of a footpath that will lead from the proposed car park up to, just put my marker on here. So it'll lead from the car park here and up round the hill up to where the Coast Guard cottages are located. This is the proposed drainage strategy for the site. So the applicant proposes to install channels and pipework to direct the surface water to an infiltration system, which is located under car parking spaces 1 to 24, which is just here. The surface water of an element of treatment, element of attenuation, before it discharges to the existing surface water drainage system for the wider estate. The discharge rate will be controlled to the pre-development rate. The report states that the car parking spaces 1 to 24 will have a porous surface. The applicant has since confirmed that this is not the case, that the car park will all be laid to the asphalt, and that so there will be no porous surfaces there, but all the water will be channeled into the filtration system via all the channels and the pipework that are being proposed there. Okay, so as part of the development also includes the formation of the bunding, sort of around the sort of periphery of the car park. So we've got these green areas of bunding here. The bunding to the south and the north are going to be 2.5 metres high, and the bunding on either side there is going to be about 2 metres high there. So these bundings are formed with the sand that's been scraped back from forming the car park there, and we do have photographs later in this report to show that. The bunding will be planted with sort of local plants in areas, the marram grasses, etc. There's existing bunding here that is highlighted on this plan. So this sort of bunding screening is between 2 and 3 metres high, and it has been planted out with the gorse bushes. So that's going to be retained to provide that sort of element of privacy and protection for the private dwelling house that's just there. This slide here shows the lighting plan for the development. So the car park is going to have 22 Victorian style cast iron lamps installed throughout the car park. These lamps are 1.38 metres in height, and those are going to be dotted around. This plan's not particularly great, but they're sort of, these are the locations of where they're going to go. The footpath is also going to have lighting, but it's going to be ground level lighting, low level ground level lighting that just follows the route of the path up to the Coast Guard cottages there. So this slide demonstrates the style of lighting that's being proposed. So we only have this plan here, which shows that the height of the pillar is 1.07 metres, and then we've got the lamp on top of that, but this is an image of how it's going to look. And then we've also provided you a picture of the existing lamps that are there. So they are significantly taller, but they do have that sort of Victorian style to them. I'm just going to take you through some of the site visit photos. So we were lucky enough to get some drone footage to present to you today. So this is taken, so the drones roughly above the Coast Guard cottages there, looking sort of eastwards to, towards the existing car park and the proposed car park there. And then the clubhouse is just beyond the photograph at the top there, just to show the extent of the works that have happened already. So we've started forming the buns. The works have kind of progressed, but we can show you some photographs later. But it shows you here the bunding that's been formed, and as well as the path that is being formed up to the Coast Guard cottages. Just the Coast Guard cottages are here, and then the formation of the path that just kind of comes down this hill and down towards the clubhouse. Again, another aerial photograph of the clubhouse with regards to the proposed car parking area in relation to the existing car parking area there. And again, another picture. So this photograph is taken just on top where just beside the Coast Guard cottages, sort of looking across. These photographs are more recent than the drone footage, so this was maybe taken a week and a half ago, say, of the works that have been done so far. Okay, it's sort of looking northeast over the site. You can see Coast Guard cottages just on the top of the hill there on this picture, and then on this one. Again, we're kind of looking north from the existing car park. And looking northwest over the site. And this is the footpath from Coast Guard cottages, sort of looking eastwards, just to give you an idea of that. And let's see if this video will work. They don't usually work, but we'll try to give it a go. No, they're not working today. Sorry. See if I can. Okay. Oh, it is. Can you see that video working fine?
Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. This one doesn't look like it's playing either, so it's fine. So we have had no unresolved objections from any of our statutory consultees. We'd like to note that Scottish Water has stated in their response that there's sufficient capacity in the Invercanny water treatment works, and the nearest mains water is 900 metres from the site. So these were comments that were made when the cart storage building was proposed. Obviously that's no longer proposed. The applicant does not require any sort of connection to the public foul drain or any foul drainage or water supply for the proposed car parking and footpath. So I just wanted to clarify that. We have received 3 letters of representation from members of the public. Again, the representations that you'll see online do include references to the proposed cart storage building. So we have not taken those into consideration for this application as it is now amended. But the comments that were made in regards to the car park and the footpath are in regard to concerns over light pollution and the effects that the lights may have on the wildlife and local amenity, and then increase in traffic noise as well. So these matters have all been addressed in the report. So the Planning Service is recommending this application for approval. The development is associated with the operations of an existing established enterprise. The golf course has been operating since around 2012, and the second golf course opened last year. The applicant has stated that the proposed works are required to allow the continued operation of their business. It's to facilitate additional parking to accommodate that visitors to the second golf course. And it's also allow the facility to hold the sort of larger events and tournaments associated with obviously the golf course. And as well as attracting tour operators to the site. So as such, because it's an ancillary use to that existing operations, the Planning Service do consider this application to comply with the relevant policies within MPF4 and the Aberdeenshire Local Development Plan. The Planning Service does not consider that the proposed works will significantly alter the character of the area. It is recognised that the sort of natural area has already been significantly altered when the golf course was originally considered and then erected. But these proposed works are not going to significantly change that the character as it is now. The car park has been sensitively designed. While delivering the car parking requirements for that golf course. The proposed bunding with its planting will now allow the development to sit well within that landscape, sort of breaking up that sort of tarmacked area, allowing the site to have that sort of natural look that the area is known for. There's also an opportunity to provide that sort of biodiversity compensation and enhancement on those bundings and within the sort of surrounding area. But this can all be addressed by planning condition. The application was also accompanied by a preliminary ecological appraisal, which included a species protection plan and habitat management plan. And Aberdeenshire Council's Natural Heritage Officer is satisfied with the ecology appraisal and recommends that a condition be included in any decision notice, which requires the development to comply with that recommendations within that species protection plan and habitat management plan. So as such, the Planning Service advises that this application complies with policies within the National Planning Framework 4 and Aberdeenshire Local Development Plan 2023, and is recommended for approval subject to the conditions listed in section 10 of this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Any questions for Ms Dingwall? Councillor Colley, John, please.
Yeah, just a couple ones. On the filtration system, which is underneath the car park, is that controlled by pumps, or is it a natural flow of water out of there to go back into the land? That's the first one. And the second one, since it was referred from Ellen area to this committee, it looks like the work has still been carrying on going. Is that correct? They're still carrying on with that? If for any reason it was turned down today, would all this land have to be put back the way it was, and would there be a time limit?
Okay. From the information that I have, there's no pumps. Everything's it's channels and drains that are leading down. I think it's the lowest point of the car park there beside the clubhouse. So it is, as far as I'm aware, it's channels and pipework that take it onto there, and then along to the existing ponds and water courses, etc., for the wider estate. The applicant is on the line, so they can maybe elaborate on the drainage system that they're proposing. The works. Sorry, could you just repeat the second question?
Yeah, looking at your pictures, it looks like the work has continued since it was referred from area Ellen to here.
Sure, sure.
And if it was turned down, would they have to literally put it all the land back, and is there a time limit on it?
So my understanding is, and the developer did contact the planning service before doing what they've done. So because it's sand and the works that they have done, they had to put down this sort of course of material just to keep the sand from blowing about. So that was agreed to be okay, just as I said, just to prevent the sand from causing more disruptions in the area. If you're minded to refuse this application, obviously the applicant will have their routes of appeal that would have to be exhausted first. But ultimately, yes, if the application was refused to appeal, then yes, we would have to look at returning the land back to how it was.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davidson, Isabel, and then Louise.
Yeah, thanks very much, and thanks for that. And it is a shame that the work's clearly carried on since enforcement originally went out quite early on in this process, and work I had understood has ceased, and it clearly hasn't, which is very disappointing, quite honestly. However, and because of that, really, one of my questions was raised. So the environmental survey said that there should be an ecological clerk of works overseeing the work. So has that happened? Because obviously the work's very well underway. So has there been an ecological clerk of works overseeing the for the findings of the biodiversity action plan as this process continued?
Again, that could be a question for the agent who's on the line today. There has been works that's carried out that's been accounted for within the ecological appraisals. For example, they carried out. There's a building that was located within the site that has been taken down. That was assessed prior to the work's been done. That building's now gone. There was that particular building was surveyed for bats, and that was taken down in accordance with the blimp license. Councillor Davison, you know more about that than me, but it was taken down under a blimp license, which is a bat low impact
Low impact,
license.
yeah.
Yeah. And so what that was done, you know, with supervision of Nature Scotland, yes. So I'm going to assume, because that was all done, that they have been complying with the recommendations within that habitat surveys and ecological appraisals, because it's not just us that can control that. There are other legislation out with planning that obligates them to carry out development in you know, with care and consideration for wildlife and habitats and things like that. So I'm going to assume that they have done that.
Okay, I think my other questions are really for the developer, so I can always come back later. Thank you.
Councillor McAllister, please, Louise.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair, and thanks for that. Excuse me, Laura, I think I've got the same thing as you. A couple of questions just for you, Laura. You spoke about, I think it was slide number 6, and I could be wrong. There was a sort of a yellow square with some writing in it that was too small for me to see on my screen. I think it might have been.
Get to 6.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, back to. Yes,
This
that
one here.
yellow square. What's that?
That's where that building was that we were talking about. So that was an area of hard standing in the building that's come down. So that's where that was.
Right. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And then, so just to have it clear in my head, in terms of timeline, and forgive me, but just to save me going back and opening many more screens as we're sat here, can you just run me through the timeline of, so the work started at some point, a planning application was received, but can you give us a bit of a timeline for that? And then work has clearly continued, if that's possible, or Paul's just popped his hand up, he might be able to do that, just so that I can get my head around it in terms of that. And also then there was maybe a slide, and actually on this one that you've got here, just to the left of the picture that we can see, there's a blue box and a black, so that's a neighbouring house, is that right?
That's right, yes.
Is it possible just to look at one of the other slides, and I'm sorry, I don't know which number, there are sort of houses in close proximity, and just to get a clearer view of distances involved, please.
So we're talking, you would like maybe to the aerial photograph?
Possibly,
yeah.
So that's helpful, that,
This one here.
that's that.
Yes,
house there, and then so we see that in the later pictures on the road coming down around.
Yes.
Okay. And are there other
an aerial picture? So that's that house there that we're talking about there, and then they've got their access that so I believe that you can come up here, but I think there's another access further up that allows them to come into their property here, and they've got sort of bunding and the gorse bushes and tree planting and things like that around there. So they are really well screened. If you stand round about here, you can't really see this property from within that sort of car parking area there.
Thank you. And then, so can I just ask, the area of land that's been cleared to the what looks like the back of that house, is that
this area here?
Yes. What's that?
So that was the location for the that was originally proposed for the cart storage building, but that's not part of this application anymore. I'm kind of concerned, or I want to be careful around discussing that cart storage, because they may come in with another application at a later date for something else, whether it's there or somewhere else. We don't know yet.
I see. And forgive me, Chair, just one last point of clarification then. So the land right up to that house belongs to the Menny estate?
Yeah, yes, it is quite close actually. There's not a defined boundary between, obviously there's the trees, but there's no fence or anything like that. And I believe that is the choice of the homeowner, not to have a sort of boundary fence. But yeah, there is nothing along here that sort of defines that boundary. But I think the works here kind of define it for us.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
I note Mr. McCarty's hand up. I suspect it's in relation to the timeline, so if Paul can respond, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Through you to Councillor McAllister, the timelines are relevant. You're considering the planning application in front of you, not the works that have taken place on site. The works that have taken place on site right now set the risk to the applicant. And whether or not the council decides to take enforcement action should this application be refused. Things like the allocation and when it's been under an S at that time would have to be conference students have to be exceeded to do so. It's the timeline and the works that have commenced, although the application appears to have slipped into retrospect. It's not material to the outcome of the application. The works that are undertaken on site are at the risk, and while we're seeing pictures of construction, I'd always say that pictures during construction always seem to show a worse impact than actually what it is when the development's complete. So we'll have to kind of take what's in front of us at face value. Okay, thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for the clarification. Councillor Johnson, please. Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to get some clarification on what is actually being applied for in terms of the plan, which we've been shown. Laura, could you possibly pop up your slide number 6, I think it was?
Yes.
And on slide number 6.
Here we go.
Okay, on slide number 6, if we look at the kind of sickle-like shape of the path leading down from the cottages to the existing car park, no, to the proposed car park on it, it seems to be wide at the top end, but goes into a footpath-like width. Whereas if we now move to the next slide, I think slide 7, now that's the proposed site, and we take a look at that same sickle-like thing is now on the bottom left-hand corner, and the size of the footpath now appears to be considerably wider and is more like a road. Which one of the two is the one you're expecting to be delivered as part of the planning consent? Because I'm not quite sure that, you know, the one is almost like a road and the other one is indeed a path. So I'm not disputing the first, but the second one looks odd. Okay, which one?
So the plans that we're assessing is this one here. I mean, everything else that that comes in is plans that they have submitted as part of supporting documents. This one in particular is their drainage details. So the path that we're proposing it is just a path, and I would be expecting it. I mean, it's kind of thicker there and kind of comes down there. That's what we're considering. Again, maybe that's something that the agent that's on the line can clarify, but it is footpath that has started works, and we do have those photographs as well, which shows what they have done. I can go back.
What I'm interested in is which one gets stamped approved and which one is just superseded. And I'm taking it was what there was in page 7 is superseded, and what was in page 6 is stamped approved. Is that correct?
So we would probably stamp all of them approved, because we've got this sort of drainage details that they have to do. The application, the red line boundaries are all the same, but we can easily get that sort of clarified. If you're minded to approve, we can make sure that they are footpaths, and that is exactly what they're going to be. They're going to be footpaths. There's not going to be a road.
Okay.
Can I take in Mr. McCartney, please?
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Johnson, it's a fair point that you're raising. The difference between the two slides is the scale of the drawing that's on them. Different scales, you'll see that it shows the footpath being wide, then narrow, and then on the other side, I think side 6, or the side that shows the exploded detail, so zoomed in on
Yeah.
that actual arc shape. It's at a different scale, and that's why you've got a greater width of footpath. The one thing that I would say is, given the gradient and given the arc of the path, you can understand why it might need to be a wee bit wider to give it greater stability, given the topography around it too. So you'd imagine the width would likely vary as we kind of move up the slope from the car park and then round. And obviously the shape, the arc shape, gives it the most accessible gradient, as opposed to having a zigzag up the side of a hill, which is far more visually intrusive, and it's difficult to screen through landscaping in an overly engineered situation.
Could you possibly show, Laura, could you possibly show slide 8? And then, yeah, that is of the same scale as the one, and the other, the sickle is does again show it as fairly large.
If I could just say, Mr. McCarty's right. These plans aren't of similar scale. Again, this drawing was kind of blown out, and so that members could see the details on the screen, because snipping the original plan and putting on, you would have missed a lot of the detail within the sort of this sort of details that we're providing here. So this has been snipped out, so they aren't of similar scale to the previous ones. The plans that are on our website are to scale.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Johnson, yeah. I had a number of queries, most of which have been answered as we went through. I had originally understood the sickle as an access to the second car park, but now I'd just like to confirm the access to the second car park is actually coming through from the existing car park. Vehicle access I'm speaking about. Is that correct?
Yeah. So access into the proposed new car park will be taken via the existing car park. Is literally an extension of that existing car park.
So the purpose of the path really is for the Coast Guard cottages, I think he described them as, up the top to come down to the clubhouse via the proposed car park.
Yes, my understanding is that the Coast Guard cottages are to be used as rentable space by Trump International Golf Course for guests. So it's to provide those guests with access to the clubhouse, the facilities of the clubhouse, and of course the golf course, just providing them ease of access down into those facilities there, and that's why they're proposing the footpath.
Thank you very much. Do you wish to come back, Councillor Johnson? Paul?
Apologies. Yes, I just wanted to ask for some clarification on a different issue.
Please continue then.
That's great. Could I just clarify that all references to the road or the roads network is in fact not roads network? I think we clarified this previously and it confused a few people. These are accesses, they are not roads. Under the terms of the Roads Act, they didn't apply for a road. They didn't, and it's nothing to do with adoption or anything. It's a road. If they're not a road, we were informed on the original applications. If that's the case, could references be changed, if possible, in this to make sure that we know where the roads are and we know where the accesses are, because people get confused between the two. I certainly was with the answers that I got at the public inquiry.
How do we deal with that? I wonder if...
Just remove the word roads and insert words accesses.
Could I get some clarification on that point, please? Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point that you're raising, Councillor Johnson. Is it material to the decision that you're making today, though?
Might be. That's what concerned me. It may not necessarily be that, but if we constantly refer to something as being a road, it might not be a road. We know what it is, so it really should be careful, so that when somebody comes to reference what is going on with what is actually happening on the ground, let's say that they wanted to make an objection to for enforcement, there's confusion. What we are accepting as plans should be accurate, I hope.
So there are a variety of definitions for a road and a footpath, and a footpath being a road is one, I think, under the Road Scotland Act. Ken is on the call, so you might want to clarify that. So I'd imagine the technical issue there is a moot point.
It's not just the sorry, Paul. It's not just the sickle bit of the path coming down. It's the connection to roads. The connection from the car park is to the access track, which goes to the main road. There is a separate road, which is from number 5 there, the cottage which exists, which takes it all the way out to the end. Now that's the road, whereas the other one is the access.
Ultimately, I think that particular comment is outside the red line boundary, and I think it'll be the red line boundary that we really need to think about and consider in this particular instance.
Part of it is, yes, except part of it is, part of it isn't, but yes, okay.
Okay, with that, I see no further hands. So can I now turn to the request to speak? I'm not sure if it's Mr. McMurray or Miss Barber or both, but you may address the committee and you have 5 minutes in total. And then there may well be questions.
Good morning, Chair and members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and present to you this morning. As we've already talked on there, it's myself, Mark McMurray and Claire Barber that will be with you today. I'll sort of introduce the application and set out some of the questions and address some of the questions around the need for the development, and I'll pass over to Ms Barber, who will hopefully answer some of the questions that have already been raised on the technical details. First of all, on the need, I think it's already been touched on, that essentially sort of two or threefold. You may recall at the time when the new course permission was granted, there was it was always anticipated that additional parking would be required, and it was something that your planning and roads teams required us to prove that additional parking could be provided. So it's addressing that requirement partly, but the sort of major driver for this is that over the last couple of years, I'm sure you're well aware, the resort has proven and established itself as a successful venue for major international events and tournaments, with a pipeline of future hosting opportunities as well. And there's now a requirement to provide the infrastructure that these event organisers will require on a sort of longer term basis. And one of the key requirements that they have is this additional area that we're talking about today, where they require that sort of additional parking, but also the flexibility to locate some of the supporting functions that they would have for these major events and tournaments. And we've also touched on the coach tours. Again, something I'm sure you're well aware of, major events and tourism are an important part of the local, regional, national economic strategies. Golf tourism in particular is seen as an important growth sector, not just for Scotland, but for the North East. Now, the substantial investment in the resort recently is designed to support all of these strategies, deliver economic growth for Aberdeenshire and Scotland, and place the region on a global tourism map. So that's been a key driver behind what we're looking at today. I know Ms Dingwall's already covered this, but as she said, the area will essentially be an extension to the existing car parking area. It will be in keeping with the design of the existing space that you're familiar with. albeit the lower level lighting has been proposed to mitigate any potential impacts on the neighbouring properties and wildlife. And I'll let Ms. Barber address some of the technical questions before I'll sum up at the end.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I took a couple of notes about some of the queries that have come up. So the yellow square that you can see on this drawing is in fact the Mound Soakaway. So it forms part of the existing drainage network for the course. In terms of the ecological support, there has been an ecological clerk of works on site on multiple occasions, both during the survey, which is covered in the report, and subsequently as well during translocation of materials for the bunds. So they've been engaged in that, and they've also very experienced on site and having worked with the native species during the second course construction. In terms of the siting of the car park as well, just to pick up on that point, the engineering drawings for the sickle shape, rather than the planning up, the layout you can see there has been formed using an as-built survey. So the extents of the width of the path that comes down there is just as it is just now. During construction, obviously plant is required to access that area. There's also drainage to be formed, so that the width and what you can see on the engineering drawings is just an as-built topo survey, not the proposed final plan in respect to surfacing and landscaping, which is shown on the architect's details. And in terms of the siting of the car park, what we've focused on doing is using areas that were previously developed, both in terms of access from the wider estates and using existing roads and existing car park to access the new car park. But also there was an area that was previously kind of temporary storage, temporary clubhouse. It was already cut and flattened and stone build up, along with a short game area which had previously been subject to earthworks. So the car park's been sited really to obviously connect to the clubhouse and the existing car park, but also avoid waste or redevelopment of previously undeveloped areas and focus on areas that have already been subject to development under the first course planning permission. I think that covers the queries that have been raised so far.
Thanks, Claire. Thanks for that. And I was just going to sum up by saying, as clearly set out in the officer's report, the proposals are clearly in accordance with the development plan, and there are no material considerations which would justify refusal in these circumstances. And in fact, on the contrary, when we look at the material considerations around the economic benefits, etc., of supporting the major tournaments and events, that only adds further weight. We would submit to the permission being granted, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have, members.
Thank you very much. And we do have hands going up. I'll start with Councillor Davidson, please. Isabel.
Yeah, thanks very much. I wondered if you could give us some idea of how much use you expect it to have. I understand absolutely that you have to work to attract major events, and I know that there's been a few. But what sort of numbers or how many events are you looking to have in a year, for instance, that would require that amount of parking space? And I did get what you said. You mentioned using it for activity space as well in some cases. So I did pick that up. I don't think you've said anything about that in the planning application.
Yeah, but I think it's very difficult to put a number on number of events. I think the ambition will always be to host as many events as can be successfully hosted at the resort. It's very difficult to put a number on it at this time. There are future events secured and discussions ongoing with a continuous pipeline of opportunities for events. There's also the regular, we talked about the coach tours. That's something again which should be a regular use. So it's not just the events, it's the second golf course, the new course, and it's the success there's been for that and the demand for that. There's the events and coach tours. So it's the combination of all of that which would give rise to the need for this proposal, and I think I'll let Claire add to that.
Yes, please, Ms. Barber.
Sorry. So one of the in terms of layout, one of the large issues that we've had with the existing car park is coach access, and the ability for coaches to come in, turn and get back out of the car parking areas. During events or peak season, there could be build-up of traffic on existing estate roads, which allows vehicles to sit idle. The car park that's been designed to have a more free-flowing access so that vehicles can get in, they can drop off near the clubhouse, so they can get back out without causing build-up of traffic around the estate. The other thing is obviously providing a provision for electrical vehicles as well, which wasn't required as part of the first application, and bringing that in along with the disabled access at that kind of front end of the car park near the clubhouse. So that then coupled with trying to make sure that there's sufficient landscaping and the setting of the site, the bunding and the green space, as you can see on the plan, is quite a large proportion of the plan area of the proposed new works. So allowing that while making sure that buses and larger vehicles and supply vehicles that come in to bring supplies to the clubhouse can safely access it, while maintaining safe access for pedestrians to move about the estate. So all of these things have been factored into the layout and the size of the car park.
Thank you. So, and my next question is about the surface. Did you look at other options for surfacing it? This is obviously still a very sensitive area, even though, there's no doubt it's developed, and it's a long way from what it was originally. But is there a reason why you've used such a surface like that rather than, mesh and grass or stones or something? It's a very large area of tar, and I just wondered what other options you had considered.
Yeah, so we looked. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that was something that has definitely been considered and a lot of options explored. And I was going to let Claire, on you go, Claire, to explain and describe that.
So, yes, again, leading back to the green space, that's another large part of looking at the runoff rates. So as a percentage area of the actual planning application, the landscaping's been maximised. When it comes to material selection, we did consider, as was noted in the original application, porous paved areas. However, the biggest issue with that was the HGV and the heavy duty access that would be required for some of the events. A lot of the issues that can be seen with porous paving is heavy trafficking and turning on porous paving, along with the maintenance of it, which can cause differential settlement across the area. So in consultation with the people that are likely to use the car parks, heavy duty tarmac was the preferred option. It also meant it actually landscape wise ties into the existing facility rather than showing a different material. It all speaks to the same estate that uses
do you
those
know
pathways.
what, if he just went with a red jumper, would that be okay?
Hang on,
or does it
we
need
have somebody open mic.
I don't have a red jumper, it's not me.
Sorry, Miss Barber, I interrupted you. Can you continue?
Yeah, so we have thoughts significant about materials, and particularly in terms of carbon footprint and sustainability. One of the key elements of all of this work was working to have a net balance on the site, making sure that we didn't have waste materials being removed from site. So the cut and fill and the levels of the site have all been determined so that we don't have materials having to go off to landfill, recycling materials and stone that was already present on site. So certainly throughout the design process, we've complied with the SUDS hierarchy, the CIRIA guidance, the SEPA guidance on drainage. And just to clarify that there isn't a pump system, it's an infiltration soak away system that seeks to replicate the existing condition, i.e. it goes to ground.
Okay, thank you. So, and lastly, I'm not sure how well the lighting will work. I think those sort of dwarf Victorian posts look a bit odd, but I have got a particular bugbear with low level lights at the moment because I hit one recently because I couldn't see it because of the height of it. So that's my gripe. And Councillor Ritchie had to go and fix my camper van. So, but it can be quite awkward because some vehicles you can't see the lower level lights from. However, that's an aside. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Councillor Dixon.
Thank you. Can I turn to Councillor Crowley and then Councillor McAllister? John, please.
Yeah, just a quick one. You were saying about you need the car park to attract other events. Is that a major obstruction about getting new events into the site if you haven't got the car parking space?
Yeah, one of the tournaments that have happened to date are only going to get larger, and a lot of the access that we've had previously on site has resulted in parking and busing pedestrians down. Unfortunately, a lot of the spectators are too eager to get onto the course and end up walking down access roads and areas. So this is not just to provide more space for the actual event holders, but also to make sure that people can be safely trafficked around the site, and make sure that the buses that can transport people into the site can make their way through the estate without people walking all across the course and the access roads, and provide that level of safety as well.
Yeah, and as I said, mentioned in the presentations, that sort of pipeline of future opportunities there, and this is a sort of continuous theme being raised by all of them, so hence this application.
Thank you.
Louise, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Mark. Excuse me, and Claire. Sorry. A couple of questions. I mean, I think we can all see the scale of the development is huge in comparison to what's already in existence. So I think that's, it's why it's important that we have this discussion here today. A couple of points. Given the scale of 179 additional spaces, what's the current capacity, please, of the existing car park?
I believe it's I believe it's 138.
Okay.
I was checking last night just to reference my numbers from the
That's quite all right.
because as I said, mentioned it, that requirement for additional spaces was formed part of the new course permission and referenced 138 existing, and then additional ones as part of the new course.
Okay, so with that in mind, and I hear what you're saying about this being sort of very much additional, very much looking at tournaments and that kind of an idea, I'm thinking about the lighting in particular. Will the lighting be motion censored? Will it be timed? Will it be restricted? And I'm thinking of the impact on biodiversity, nature, all of these things, so that if the car park isn't in use, which I'm imagining from what you're saying, the intimation is that it's very much overflow. So this lighting would not necessarily be used all the time. Is that correct? Would it be motion censored?
The lighting won't be motion censored, but will be controllable by staff from the clubhouse and so on. The selection of the lights has been such that they are extremely low wattage bulbs, as well as being low in elevation. So this was really to provide the minimal level of lighting required for people to move around the car park without introducing an extensive amount of light. And as I said, the lighting will be controllable by staff, such that if it's not required, it can easily be switched off.
And can I ask, would that be the same with the path down from the cottages? Is there a possibility for that to be put onto sensors so that it's not permanently lit? My concern is that, as with all these things, it's fine to have that control, but would it be exercised? Are there limitations on the lights? Would they be switched off after a certain time of night? All of these things are a huge concern. We know that the lighting can really be disruptive for nature and wildlife. So given the number, more than 20 lights in the car park plus the path, that adds up to quite a lot of disruption potentially.
Yeah, the lighting's been kept low. If you consider the elevation of the lights relative to the bunding, they're much lower than even the screening bunds that are around the lights. So again, that's been considered in selecting the height of the lights, which are substantially higher in the existing car park. So the wattage and the height has been reduced, and the number of lights therefore spaced based on that wattage. Along the cart facility, again, that's going to be controllable by staff. It's also going to be almost in-ground lighting. It's going to be very low level lighting, purely from a a safety perspective of coming down that path and making sure you know where you're going and defining the path, rather than it being a feature. It's not intended to be a lighting feature. It's a health and safety measure to make sure that people can safely use the path in low level light.
Yeah,
Okay, so oh, sorry.
Sorry, Councillor MacArthur, I think you were. I don't want you to think that it's only going to be used when there's tournaments, etc., going on. You know, currently with 2 courses going on, there is an additional need for car parking. There is sort of 300 to 400 people a day making use of the facilities, and obviously things will ebb and flow, but there are peak times. You know, obviously people are out in the golf course for long periods of time going on. So there's times already where additional car parking would be useful. So it's not just for the tournaments, etc., but as Ms. Barber said, there is ways to control that lighting.
Okay, thank you. And if I can just ask as well, so Ms. Dingwall told us during her presentation that there had been an area of porous surface in the car park, and that's now been withdrawn. So that's obviously new. So just to further explore that, you know, and I appreciate the larger vehicles. We're all very involved in roads maintenance in Aberdeenshire Council. You know, and I just think I would have welcomed perhaps, you know, more heavy duty access for the larger vehicles and then a different surface type, but I'm not a roads engineer, as you'll appreciate. But I just wondered why has that changed? Does that tie into the usage?
Yes, it was about tying it into the existing car park in terms of landscape and layout, but also the heavy duty access. And the car park's been designed such that there's large areas of green space and filter trenching. So rather than use permeable surfacing, which doesn't always function over the longer term, using actual green landscaping by the mid of water runoff off surface infiltration and then down to the infiltration trench. So it's very much in keeping with the existing drainage network, but seeks to actually improve it with further green landscaping and filter trenches.
Thank you. One very last point, Chair. The picture that's on our screens at the moment, if you can see it now, we're seeing the bunding, we're seeing all of these different areas of green. Yeah, thank you. I think that's Laura maybe. So there's a bunding there, but in between the car parking spaces, it looks like there's additional, is that additional planting? What's happening with that?
Yeah, that's intended to be green landscape, and it'll almost act as a although not designed to take the capacity, because we can use the infiltration trench. It actually can act as almost like a swale along that area, convening water and allowing it to infiltrate. So that's been designed to take that into account as well. So that will be soft landscaped, not hard.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Many questions there. Thank you. Now, I'll take Laura, because her hand came up during the lighting discussions. Have you anything further to add, Laura?
I just wanted to confirm that with regards to the lighting, that there's restrictions. The species protection plan identifies lighting and restricts that lighting so that it is bat friendly. So I just wanted to clarify that in addition to the sort of low level lighting and the bunding that's slightly taller than that lighting, there's also a requirement that the developer complies with the recommendations within the species protection plan, which also requires which also provides control of that lighting in terms of, you know, making sure it's quite low level, low on the ground, as not to impact on any flight paths of the bats sort of foraging in the area. So I just wanted to highlight as well that there is another further control on the lighting that we have added as a condition, that the developer must comply with the species protection plans that have been submitted.
Thank you very much. Councillor Davidson, I appreciate you've asked, but I'll take you in before Councillor Johnson.
No, this is a very quick comment, really, rather than a question to follow on from what Laura said. You know, there's been trials in southern England of using red bulbs instead of white ones, which are bat friendly, or well, wildlife friendly, don't make any difference whatsoever to the amount of light, and don't affect wildlife. So it's a punt, but it's always worth a try or something new. And it is now established. I think it's Winchester the whole city has now got red streetlights rather than white, so that it's bat friendly.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Johnson, please.
Yes, it's this discussion that I just wanted some clarification on, and that will be on the basis of, are we lucky? Maybe Isabel, Councillor Davidson has answered this, but I'm taking that the lumens, the amount of light, is the important point here, not the wattage of the bulb. But the lumens that it creates, and also what color the light is, and how it works. Now, if I could just get some clarification, what are the lumens, and what is the light that is going to, could it be the red light, or is it likely to be some other tint of light which is more acceptable to wildlife and can still allow for the use of light in the car park?
Miss Barber, I guess.
Yeah. We certainly haven't considered red light to this point. The colour of the lights were to be in keeping with the existing car park, which is I'm not an expert in the description of light colouring, but it's a sort of off yellow rather than a dentist white bulb. So that has been considered, because all of this was about keeping the lighting soft and low level. And I'm certainly, as far as I understand it, these have been accepted by by environmental health and the consultees that have reviewed all the drawings, so they comply with the policy and the rural lighting queries that we received at planning application stage.
And as already mentioned, form part of a condition that obviously it's lighting that we've proposed, and we're happy to comply with the restriction and those conditions.
Okay, thank you very much. I see no further hands at this stage. I would thank you for your contributions, Mr. McMurray and Ms. Barber. You may remain in the meeting to hear the remainder of the debate. Does the planning officer have any further comments or on any issues raised in the request to speak?
No.
Thank you very much. Can I now turn to the second request to speak? Mr. Rob Menlove, you may address the committee, and you have 5 minutes in total.
Yes, good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My letter of representation that I submitted back in January was mainly about the cart storage facility. However, I do still have a few concerns that I'd like to speak about. So we know that the application is for an additional 179 parking spaces, which is more than double the existing capacity. Referring to the drainage assessment, that's not a document we've seen today, but it's one of the documents posted on the website. Section 3.1 states the existing clubhouse is served by its own private treatment plant and mound soakaway, which is licensed with SEPA and will not be affected by these proposals. Section 4 of the drainage assessment goes on to say, in terms of foul drainage, that due to no overall increase in staff numbers, therefore no additional loadings on the existing treatment plant are proposed. My concern is this assessment appears to overlook the large number of additional golfers and visitors that will be using the 179 additional parking spaces. More guests will inevitably lead to an increased load on the existing clubhouse facilities, its treatment plant and the mound soakaway. Yet there is still no evidence in the published documents that SEPA has been consulted or the increased load has been acknowledged or any mitigation is proposed. The second point I'd like to make is with reference to the PowerPoint presentation, particularly the aerial view on page 15. I was shocked to see just exactly how close the current excavations had come to the residential property at Leighton Cottage. And having seen that, I would request that a no-dig buffer zone should be a condition of any planning consent in this vicinity, so as to avoid the risk of heavy machinery, vibration, causing structural damage to the property. I understand that some of the excavated ground nearest to the house has been reinstated at the request of the council to their credit.
I'm sorry, Mr. Medlove. We need to be considering the red line boundary here, and I think the area you're referring to is actually outside.
That's correct now, yes. Apologies.
Okay, you may continue.
So in my letter of representation, I requested 4 planning conditions that should be applied should permission be considered. One of those has partially been addressed through the revised lighting design, which has been discussed earlier in the meeting. The other 3, I believe, are still reasonable and reflect conditions applied to previous similar elements of the golf resort. The first one is that all lights should be scheduled to ensure that they automatically cease operation at midnight each night. The reason in the interest of the amenities of the surrounding properties, and also for consistency with the planning condition 4 of the existing car park. That was APP 2012-2342, condition 4. So that would bring the new parking area in line with that planning condition of the existing car park. Secondly, strict limits should be placed on working hours during the construction phase in order to limit the amount of noise disturbance and light pollution. As an example, a similar condition has been applied to the construction of the Championship Golf Course. That was APP 2010-1535, again condition 4. Thirdly, I would like to request a condition that all works traffic must use the designated signposted HGV entrance on the B977 close to the Hill of Many, rather than using the U14C single track Hatterseat Road and the unmetalled Leighton Farm track. The reasons are, firstly, to prevent further damage to the Leighton track, which in 2025 suffered considerable damage due to large numbers of HGVs carrying hardcore and aggregate used in the construction of a new access track and media compound. Secondly, to prevent noise, dust and risk to pedestrians using the Hatterseat Road and the Leighton track. And thirdly, for road safety considerations at the Hatterseat Road junction onto the B977, which is narrow, it's a single track road, and it has restricted visibility in both directions along the B977.
Can I ask you to come to a close? Your 5 minutes is almost up.
Certainly. Essentially, there is a designated HGV entrance. Either it or the main resort entrance should be used. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Do I have questions for Mr. Menlove? Councillor McAllister, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks for that, Mr. Menlove. So I was taking down points. You were looking for a condition on the works traffic using particular roads, excuse me, restrictions on the time of day of work, and also the lighting condition to tie in with the original planning. Have I missed an additional one? Apologies if I have. If you could just make sure that I've made a note of all the the concerns that you have, notwithstanding the conversation today?
The additional one that I was referring to was the one in connection with the excavation near the cottage, which was deemed to be outside the red line boundary.
Right, thank you very much. It was just to clarify that point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Johnson, please, Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's not so much a question to Mr. Menlove, but on the basis of what he's just said, could I just get something from the planner? Laura, could you say that these ones which he's mentioned are included as conditions in previous applications which refer to the main site and seem fairly reasonable? What would you have considered these, and if so, what's your response?
Laura, please.
Sorry, I'm just flicking between screens and trying to get back to unmute myself. In terms of lighting, I do see in the 2012 2342 application that there is a condition that limits that requests that the lights are turned off at midnight. We have put it on that application, and we could put it on this application. I think it's sort of making an assessment of how enforceable that is. To do, there would be no way of monitoring that the lights are turned off at midnight. That would be my only concern about that, is that is how we would sort of enforce that. The agent there has said that, you know, that the lights are going to be controlled by staff. I'm going to assume that all lights are turned off when staff are leaving, which is going to include those lighting on the car park. They could maybe confirm that, but I think I would prefer it wasn't added on, because it isn't enforceable. To make sure that those lights are switched off at midnight, we cannot monitor that. But if members are would like that condition added, that's something for you to consider.
Chair.
Okay, thank you. You wish to come back, Councillor Johnson?
No, I just wish to. Do you know why if you thought they were unenforceable, was there a reason we put them on? These ones on in the first place? That's, I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. The Hatterseat Junction one seems quite reasonable as a condition, and the working hours one has always been reasonable. That seems a reasonable one. It was industry standard by the looks of things. But the scheduled lights, I understood, wouldn't have caused a problem in the past, and it's up to, you know, there are people who would make formal complaints to the council for enforcement if such, and we can deal with it that way, I would have thought. I'm just concerned that what happened in the past, we're ignoring what has actually happened since then.
I think it's because you know, those things about light concerns and things like that are usually controlled out with planning, you know, under different legislation. For example, the operational hours, keeping it within sort of reasonable hours in terms of noise in regard to neighbouring amenity. That's all covered by separate legislation under environmental health. So it's just to highlight that you know, because it is covered under separate legislation, that I be concerned about adding on as a planning condition, but it's my recommendation would be not to add it, but it's entirely up to you whether you want to add it or not.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Johnson, yeah. Can I turn to Councillor Forsyth, Councillor McAllister, and Councillor Crawley then? Alistair, please.
Yeah, mine's is just a simple technical suggestion to the developer that in the course of their construction of the lighting system, like we have in the streets, the application of a Lucy box with a timer on it mitigates all concerns about lights going on and off at any particular time. These controllers can be programmed to switch off at midnight, much in the same way as lights in the streets are controlled to switch off at dawn. So this is an easy technical solution that doesn't really need to be conditioned. Simple suggestion to the developer that that's how that might be affected, I'm sure would placate our colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McAllister, please.
Yes, and thanks to Councillor Forsyth for that. I do wonder why we're not looking at motion censored lights, because sometimes staff might be leaving after midnight and they want to get to their cars safely. Sometimes there will be no need for them at all, depending on the time of year. I just think there is a simple solution, either as Councillor Forsyth has intimated that they're set on a timer, but equally I'm sure that motion sensor lighting is easy to install, maintain, and actually takes away a large part of the issues, excuse me, in accordance with concerns around wildlife, around neighbouring properties, or all of these areas, while still allowing safe traversing of the car park in hours of darkness. I think it was an issue. It's something that we do need to be mindful of. But thank you very much for letting me come back in, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Crowley, please. John.
Yeah, I was just checking with probably a question for the applicant. Really is obviously people are concerned about the working hours of what the development ongoing. A lot of the work's already been done. Have they been working to normal construction working hours?
Is that Ms. Barber or Mr. McMurray to answer that, please?
Yes, they have been working to normal operational hours. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not aware of any issues.
Yeah, just to be clear, that there's other legislation governing these matters, and that's all being complied with as you would expect on all works that are undertaken on the resort.
Okay, I see no further hands. Does the committee have any further questions to ask of the planning officer as a result of the request to speak? Councillor Davidson, please.
Yes, thanks. I just would like clarity on whether we could add in a condition about which roads HGVs would use, so that they would use the HGV entrance on the B977. Is that possible to add that as a condition, Laura? Or the main entrance to the site?
Can we add conditions to the access to the site, Laura?
The issue with that is that obviously all the sort of internal roads within the estate are private roads, and sort of restricting the movements of that construction vehicles and things like that isn't usually something that the planning service get involved in, because if the roads are suitable for those particular vehicles, then those particular vehicles use them. I wouldn't recommend restricting the HGVs or traffic movements at all or through planning anyway, because again it's really difficult to enforce. By the time a vehicle accidentally goes down the wrong road, they're gone. The time we report it, the time we investigate it, and we've got to consider how reasonable that would be for both the applicant and for the planning service to enforce. So again, I would say no to putting that forward in the decision notice.
Okay, thank you. But it would be good if they undertook to repair any damage, but that could be out with this. However, okay, thank you. That I'm content with that then.
Okay, thank you very much. And I also note that, as indicated right at the start of the meeting, Councillor Stirling has now joined the meeting. She's no declarations to declare, but as she has joined halfway through, or considerably more than halfway through this particular item, will not take part in this particular item. I hope that's clarified the situation.
Yep, thank you, Chair. You said exactly what I would have said, so I will not take part. Thank you.
Okay. So let's continue, and but before we go on to consider this further, can I confirm that members are satisfied that they received all the necessary information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application? And I see Councillor McAllister's hand.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
Chair. I'm happy with the information I've received.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Sorry. No, I just wondered, we didn't come to a conclusion about lighting, if that would be a question for the applicant or planners. We sort of discussed, Alistair put in about the box to switch off and on, the timing, and I mentioned the potential for motion activated lighting, and we didn't really, I feel, get to the nub of that, if that would be a reasonable point to pursue.
Can I ask the applicant whether they would consider the lighting sensors to help control the scheduling of lighting?
I'll maybe let Ms. Barber answer on the technical side of how the lighting would work. But one thing I would say, just in terms of context, that people were asking about the previous car park application, a main reason, I've obviously got history, like I know many of you have, with applications in the past. It was a lot of that was driven by the height of the lighting on the previous application and the impacts on the neighbouring properties, and that's why the condition, although there were, as Ms. Dingwall said about concerns about enforcement, why that condition was put on and everyone was in agreement with it, was due to the height of that lighting and the potential for impacts on neighbouring properties, and everyone agreed to that lighting, which is not something which is a concern with this application or anything that's been, raised by environmental health. So does that context hopefully gives a bit of clarity why there might be a different approach between this application and the previous one.
Okay, thank you for your response. I'll just ask the question again. Can I confirm my members are satisfied that they've received all necessary information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yep. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. We will now move to debate. Sorry. Can I now move to seeking views of local members? And if I can start with Councillor Davidson, please.
Thank you very much. When I received this application for review, I had some questions that I wanted answered about it, and I'm very pleased that we've had this public debate and that I've had my questions answered. So I'm now content with this application. I can see the advantage of it for a major tourist event attraction in our area, and the questions I had have now been resolved. So I'm happy with this application.
Thank you. Councillor McAllister.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, just put my camera on. Yes, like Councillor Davidson, I did have concerns. I would say I still have some concerns over the scale, the layout, the design. My questions have been answered, I would say, to an extent, but taking all the points of mitigation forward and the explanations that have been given by the applicant and planners alike, I do find myself certainly more content than I was when we first received it, and I'll leave it there. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Owen, please.
Thank you. I think we've had a really good discussion around some of the issues that colleagues had, and I think that's really good. For me, I just consider this was natural progression of what is, you know, kind of a major golfing resort. And I just considered the level of car parking proposed supports the day-to-day operation of the golf courses, and obviously the wider offerings, as well as leveling the playing ground between our internationally recognised golf resort in Aberdeenshire and those also competing for major events such as the Nexo Tour that we had last year. So I just think we should relish diversification to ensure this site brings, you know, really much needed economic development to this area and also to the northeast. So to be honest, I'm fairly supportive. Thank you.
And the final member, Councillor Crowley, please.
Yeah, I think I'm similar there to Councillor Owen. Yes, I did have a few questions to start with, but I think they've well been answered today. We need to look, this is a major development and it's natural progress of growth to actually bring more into the area, and it's something we actually need in this area, so I'm more than happy to support it.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments? If not, could I therefore move to looking for a motion, please? Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I get the fact that this is we're really discussing a partial part of what the developer wanted, as we don't have in front of us the other part which has been withdrawn, which is fine. I understand that. Therefore, this one is effectively just the planning consent required for the car parking and its construction and the implications of it. Now, I'll preface the total remarks with the fact that when the original application first came in, not for this, but for the whole of the site, of the many site, there were lots and lots of discussions about the advantages, etc., of having such a, you know, a large events and etc. And we're told that we couldn't, those who objected, etc., they couldn't object on the grounds of what might not be there. In other words, there wasn't a proposal in front of us for a major international, etc. It was going to be great, or yes, all of that. That was the hyperbole which we had. But on top of that, if you actually analyze it, we weren't in control of what would actually happen. How would we organize in a major event? What would be the impacts of all of that? And there were the discussion finished. Now we've now got the first of, yeah, I would reckon it's probably the first of this, which said that there is the developer is saying there is a need for extra car parking, and now we're beginning to see something in there. Now, is that the right step in order to achieve the goal which Councillor Owen has just said, you know, well, it's to be a major international venue, etc. Now, is this the correct step? Is this the right direction of what we hear here? Is it working towards any plan? Well, we don't have the plan, or we don't have a plan other than the sort of master plan for the whole of the estate, which is not much of a guide, to be honest, of historically over it. So I'm just looking at the impacts of, therefore, of the, and I'd love to have these debates about the wider thing if that's possible, but it's not on this application. It's not part of this application. So having prefaced that, we're just looking at the car park and its implications. In the past, Mr. Menlove makes a good point. In the past, we did these things for a smaller area, 130 car parking area, And of course, any problems with roads, construction, traffic, etc., was all removed because these were now just access arrangements, not roads. As far as getting onto the site and moving on the site, we have this problem all over the place, don't we? It's in quarries, it's in agriculture, rural construction, infrastructure constructions. We can place conditions, and those planning services got tons of them. But basically, the suggestion was scheduling the lights that we didn't have them on after midnight was really quite acceptable in the past. The request has come. We should find it acceptable for the future. Working hours in construction, it's good neighbourly. We have done that in the past. It was on. We did it as a committee. We did it. I don't think there was anything to suggest that we shouldn't do it. And so that condition should be added as well. Then the thing about the directional signposting, that we conditioned it. They actually adhered to that, and it removed some of the problem. Provision of a fund which the developer would pay into to, in other words, a roads bond for the construction traffic, any damage to the construction traffic should it go down that road. Well, that would make sure that the developer did put up the signs which had the access arrangements to the heavy goods vehicles where it joins the original signposting indicating heavy goods vehicles, construction traffic. These were not unreasonable ones, and I still think that if the developer wants to come up with something more bio-friendly, so biodiversity friendly in terms of the lights, then that's a good thing. But it just making sure that we have a planning condition to schedule the lights seems again reasonable. So they were all competent in the past. They were all done in the past. And I don't think there is any good reason that we shouldn't do them now on the relationship to this car park. That's what I would do. Now, I would seek a seconder for that. I'm unlikely to get one. I know it's just been the habit of this project as it has gone on in the years. So, but I would welcome somebody keeping the council's end up in looking after its our constituents in an even-handed manner. We did it, as I said, we did it last time. We should do it this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Nicol, please, Jenny.
Thank you, Chair. And yeah, I'm happy to second that. I think Councillor Johnson probably beat me to some of my comments because I'm generally content with the application, but I would have preferred it was brought forward before construction, but we are where we are. I think the Speaker, Mr. Menlove, made some really reasonable suggestions for conditions, particularly around the construction. But I would like to see that lighting condition for definite because it would enable cohesion across the whole site. I know we just have to look at the red line boundary, but I don't see why it would be conditioned on one part of the site and not the other. That doesn't make any sense. And I think it is acceptable and very reasonable for biodiversity in the area too. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I now move? Are there any further comments? I don't see any. One last shout. Okay, can I move to asking for a motion, please?
I thought I'd seconded, Chair, but I thought I had moved a motion, but then
No,
again, I thought somebody had.
I was really thinking that Councillor Davidson would move the motion after her comments on the debate.
I thought so too. That's
Councillor Davidson, please.
Well, I mean, I am happy to move a motion. I was just waiting for other folk to have an opportunity to speak first. But I'm not sure now whether Councillor Johnson has made a motion and been seconded or not. I think he has. So,
Can I take in the legal officer, please?
Thank you, Chair. We were in debate and discussion, but I think to be fair to Councillor Johnson, he did make a motion that was seconded. So whether or not Councillor Davidson then wishes to make an amendment, and we can proceed from there. Could I just ask that Councillor Johnson, however, if that is his motion, if he just clarifies the terms of that motion, because we were in discussion, I wasn't entirely sure if we were going to take that either. But I'm happy for you to proceed with that by way of a motion, if it can be clarified.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you very much. Councillor Johnson, can you clarify your motion then?
yes, the motion is to approve the development subject to, and this would have to be delegated to officers to for a condition on the scheduling of lights to 12 p.m. as per. And for this, I would be indebted to Mr. Menlove to give us the numbers again, because I didn't get a chance to write them down during the course of it. But he detailed the application number and the condition in the minutes of the meeting. And he did that similarly for the working hours in construction, which was, I did manage to get that one, APP 2010-1535, condition 4. And in also in respect of the Hatterseat Junction and the movement of traffic, he was again highlighted that specific condition. So is that helpful, Chair, or do we need to suspend and just get those pieces of data back?
I think that is help. Oh, I see a hand from Mr. McCartney. Paul, please.
Apologies, Chair. I've just joined the meeting again, but what Councillor Johnson seems to be doing is relying on the Speaker to make a decision. This is a planning decision. It's for councillors to make that decision. So if you don't have the detail, delegate to officers and we'll give you the wording for the condition. But
Well,
relying on a Speaker to do it, if it's just application numbers, that's not an issue. But it just seems on a point of governance, I'm not sure you can do that. Morag, do you want to come in?
I think you can delegate, thank you to Paul, you can delegate to officers to apply the conditions. I would leave the wording, the specific wording, as Paul has said, because that wording at the moment you are relying on the Speaker. So I think in general terms, you can delegate to officers to impose a condition around the light scheduling, the traffic management and the construction hours, but not the specific wording that was provided by the Speaker, because that was referenced to previous conditions.
Okay, yes, my apologies, but at the beginning I did sort of say that we would delegate to officers subject to, and then I went through and I said I would just be indebted for the numbers, not necessarily for the wording of the amendment, but the actual number of which committee it was and which condition was done. That's all I was asking for to be put forward. But okay, thank you very much. That's what it would be. I would ask for the officers to find out which of these are appropriate conditions and to put those conditions on. We heard all of the detail in the debate.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councillor Johnson. Is Councillor Nichols still happy with the seconding?
Yeah, I'm content to second that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Hassan, please.
Yeah, no, just to defend Councillor Johnson there, we invite speakers along to participate in the discussion, and if they bring new information to the table which is not in the report, that's fine. At the time when all those points were mentioned by the Speaker, Mr. Menlove, the officers didn't correct Mr. Menlove, so I don't think Councillor Johnson actually has acted unreasonably with his formation of his motion there.
Okay.
And if he hadn't had a seconder, I would gladly have seconded Councillor Johnson because I think he's correct. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for the comment. I really want to curtail that particular discussion. The last hand that I see at this particular moment is Councillor Davidson. Isabel, please.
Yes, thank you. I think that there have been competent responses to the queries that we raised. So defining which roads should be used, the planner was concerned about doing that. and that makes sense, you know, what the planner's response. And the lighting in the new car park is not the same as the lighting in the existing car park. So therefore, I think it's reasonable to have a different regime. So I would put forward an amendment that we accept the planner's recommendations. And I seek a seconder.
Councillor Owen, please.
Happy to second the amendment.
Thank you very much. Is there any summing up required? Councillor Davidson?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Councillor Johnson?
No, I think we've got everything.
Thank you. Can we therefore go to the vote? Claire, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the motion we have is with Councillor Johnston, seconded by Councillor Nicholl, for a delegated grant with additional conditions regarding the scheduling of lights, the working hours and conditions, and the movement of traffic. And the amendment we have is with Councillor Davidson, seconded by Councillor Owen, to approve the recommendations within the report. So I'll start with Councillor Crawley.
Amendment.
Councillor Davidson.
Amendment.
Councillor Forsyth.
Motion.
Councillor Hassan.
Motion.
Councillor Johnston.
Motion.
Councillor Lang.
Amendment.
Councillor McAllister.
Motion.
Councillor Nicholl.
Motion.
Councillor Owen.
Amendment.
Councillor Ritchie.
Amendment.
Councillor Taylor.
Amendment.
So we have 5 votes for the motion and 6 votes for the amendment. So the amendment is carried to approve the recommendations within the report.
Thank you very much. The time is now 11:36. I'm going to suggest we take a 10-minute break and return at 11:45. 11:45.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I've restarted the recording. I'll just await confirmation that we're live again. Yes, we're live. We're ready to go, Chair.
Thank you very much. So can we continue the Formartine Area Committee with item 5, which is a community asset transfer of the Aithin Centre and Station Road, Ellen. And although I don't see them on the screen, I hope that Amanda, oh, we have an open mic somewhere. So can we continue with item 5, the community asset transfer, and I'm hoping Amanda or Donna are about to introduce this item, although I don't see them on the screen. Are they about?
Good morning, Chair. Yes, I'm
yes.
here, and Donna is with me too. So if you are okay, I will get started with an introduction.
Please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. The report you're now considering is asking committee to consider an asset transfer request for the Aithin Centre on Station Road in Ellen, which has been submitted by the Catalyst Community Regeneration Company, who are seeking full transfer of ownership of the building. As members will be aware, asset transfer decisions fall under the Community Empowerment Scotland Act 2015 and are quasi-judicial in nature, and the role of committee today is therefore to determine whether the application meets the statutory tests rather than to consider the merits of the organisation more generally. In doing so, members are required to assess whether agreeing to the request would be likely to promote or improve economic development, regeneration, public health and social or environmental well-being, contribute to reducing inequalities of outcome arising from socio-economic disadvantage, deliver greater overall benefit than the alternative options, and is compatible with the Council's functions, duties and best value responsibilities. The Aithin Centre is a council-owned property which has been unoccupied since March 2025 following the conclusion of a previous asset transfer lease, and it is currently a building that has costs being generated to the council. The applicant is an eligible community transfer body and is proposing to use the building as a community hub alongside it becoming the permanent home for the Catalyst Vineyard Church congregation in Ellen. Their proposal includes space for local groups, community outreach activity and planned investment in the building. In line with statutory requirements, the Council undertook public consultation on the request. 40 representations were received, of which 37 were in support and 3 objections. These representations are summarised in the report along with the written response from the Catalyst Community Regeneration Company, addressing the points raised and providing further clarification on governance, use of building and community access. So the report before you is setting out the background to the asset and the request, the officer assessment against the statutory criteria, including financial and community benefit considerations, representations received and the response, and any recommended terms of transfer, including safeguards such as a clawback clause to protect public value should the agreed community benefit not be delivered in future. The officer assessment is a best consideration evaluation, and it provides a structured assessment of whether the proposed asset transfer at less than market value represents overall best value when compared with the option of retaining the asset. The evaluation takes into account a range of factors, including the market value of the property, holding costs currently incurred by the council, the extent to which the asset is rentable or saleable, proposed consideration to be received from the transfer, and the applicant's capacity to maintain the asset and deliver sustained outcomes for the local community. As part of this,
Excuse me, Amanda, I think we have an open mic somewhere.
Chair, I think it's actually just background office noise where Amanda is today.
I beg your pardon. Sorry about that, Amanda.
No, not a problem. So as part of the process of making the best consideration evaluation, officers from relevant council services contributed with their professional judgment, scoring the proposed community benefit against an agreed scoring framework, which should ensure a balanced and cross-service assessment. You will note there is a clawback clause that has been suggested, and that's because the asset is being transferred at less than market value, and our policy requests that we consider that. This is designed to protect public value should the asset ever be sold or cease to deliver based on what it's come forward as. However, it should be also noted that the applicant's articles of association do include a dissolution clause which prevents assets being distributed privately and requires any remaining assets to pass to a body with similar community or charitable purposes. So members are being asked today to determine whether they feel the statutory tests are being met and whether there are any reasonable grounds for refusal, or if the officer's recommendations can be approved. And Donna Sutherland, Area Project Officer, is with me today, and we're happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. Amanda, any questions? Councillor Johnson, please.
Yeah, I just wondered if you had considered the fact that it is down as a C. Is it down as a CIC? And if so, is the condition which we're placing on clawback an asset lock in effect, which allows us to retrieve the situation, or they have to retrieve the situation? Could I just check on whether it is a legal asset lock or not?
Amanda, are you able to answer, please?
Through you, Chair. The clawback is effectively a standard security granted by the transferees in favour of the council, and once registered, no sale of the centre could take place until that is removed, and before that could happen, our legal colleagues would determine whether the clawback should actually be applied, and if so, we would either take back the centre or require a payment to be made to the council.
Okay, so that clawback arrangement is a legal document which asset locks it. That's good. Thank you very much, Amanda.
Councillor Hassan, answer, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Part of the impact assessment, it's on page 65, mentions that there's an anticipation that the building will anticipate a 25% growth within 2 years. It's further mentioned in their own documentation, page 91. Do you know what that evidence is based on?
Through you, Chair, and I may ask that Donna also helps in response to this, but I think it's by having their own kind of dedicated space, and based on their experience in Lawrencekirk, where they brought a number of premises together under a single space, they saw a natural increase in their footfall. But if Donna is with us, perhaps Donna can maybe confirm.
Yeah. So they currently rent other premises in, or they certainly hire other premises for their Sunday services at the moment. So they've based it on the footfall that they're getting at the moment, and the 25% is obviously a projection because they won't know till they're in the building. But that's what they anticipate, and like Amanda's referred to, that experiences elsewhere. So they have the Lawrencekirk Community Centre. They also have buildings in Aberdeen, so their projections are based on their evidence and experience of those other operations that they have as well.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor McAllister, Louise, please.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, the background noise is kind of distracting. Maybe again, we might think about that. Nonetheless, thank you. I just wanted to, it was something that Amanda said there that I hadn't taken into account before. You were saying, so the building could not in effect be sold under an asset transfer, but you mentioned something about passing it on. Would that, what is that? To sort of another group? Would that come back to council? What's the process there, please?
So because of the type of community body this group are, they have got to, within their articles of association, make it clear what would happen if they were to no longer be an active organisation, and they've got to demonstrate that if that happens, their assets will go to a like-minded or a like-for-like organisation. They can't simply sell assets and then ex-directors or others perhaps make any profit or any monetary value out of that. But we have inserted that clawback clause to ensure that we are covered both ways. So we're covered if the organisation was to cease to exist because they've got something in place with their Articles of Association. But if for some reason they decided they wanted to withdraw from Ellen, but they would continue as an organisation, they couldn't sell the building without coming to us and us making a decision on that clawback clause. So we've that best value and community piece is protected.
Sorry, it's me. Sorry, Claire. Claire. Sorry, Chair. Through you. So, are you saying, Amanda? So the building could be passed to a like-minded organisation, or what they might consider a like-minded organisation, without the involvement of the council?
I would need Morag perhaps to help me with this one from a legal perspective. I think the way our clawback clause is stated, I think probably means they have to talk to us either way, but their Articles of Association are designed in such a way that had there not been that clawback clause, they also couldn't simply sell for a profit. But Morag will be best placed, I think, to come in and perhaps help.
Yes, please, Morag.
No, thank you, Chair. I'm afraid I'm going to be absolutely no help to you at all, because that would be my commercial and conveyancing colleagues, and it's just not something that I'm involved with at all. So I don't know the details of that standard security, and I mean I understand the principle, but I don't know the details. So I'm afraid, Amanda, I can't help you out with that one. Sorry.
Can it done to Donna?
Yeah, I spoke to a legal colleague who's provided some information today. If it's appropriate to share that, it might give a bit of a steer. So he has said, with regard to clawback, the mechanism for that is achieved by means of a standard security granted by the transferees in favour of the council, and once registered, no sale of the centre could take place until that is removed. And before that happens, legal and people will determine whether clawback should apply, and if so, undertake to either take back the centre or require a payment to be made to the council, reflecting, for lack of a better term, the excess profit achieved. So it could be that the centre is taken back, or that a payment of the profits is made to the council from said group. But that clawback clause, that's why the intention is to include that within any contractual agreement, so there is that protection in the longer term. Because up till the asset transfer policy was revised in November 2024, we didn't have clawback within the previous policy. So this is a relatively new inclusion within that asset transfer policy. I hope that helps clarifies it and doesn't further complicate.
Is that satisfactory, Louise?
Thank you, Chair, and thanks so much for that. It's my question is really just, can the building be passed if it were to go ahead with asset transfer? Can it then just be passed to another organisation, another body to take over? Not talking about profit or selling or anything like that, but could this organisation simply say, oh my goodness, we've taken on too much, we don't want to do it anymore, but we've got this other association or these people who are interested, and they would just pass it on, and not without any money, any selling, anything like that? Presumably it would have to come back to council.
Not usually. When it's a full transfer, it goes lock, stock and barrel. It's when it's
okay,
a lease,
that's the answer.
it can come back. But with inclusion of a clawback clause, that might allow, and I'm saying that with no, that's for legal and people to clarify, but that's my understanding of the asset transfer policy and previous experiences. Full transfer is lock, stock and barrel, and it doesn't come back to the council. Lease, it does. This is not a lease, it's a full transfer. However, this is a full transfer with the recommendation to include a clawback clause.
Okay, that's what it was. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I did see Morag's hand go up, but it's disappeared again. Happy with the...
It's okay, Chair. That Donna's just answered what I was going to raise.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Corley, please. John.
Yeah, just to clarify my mind about this, if they pass it on, they're saying if there's a profit, it would kick in that clause. But if they pass it on for £1 or less, there is no profit, so we wouldn't have a say in that.
Through you, Chair, that I think I would be comfortable taking this away and talking to legal colleagues to provide a further update. My understanding has always been, as with Donna, that an asset transfer, which is a full transfer, is a lock, stock and barrel transfer, but because most community asset transferring bodies have articles of association that include that dissolution clause, there is that protection that whilst the asset can be passed on, it's being passed on to another community group which is doing similar works. The clawback clause has come in fairly recently. It came in 2024, I think it was, and I don't think we've had to test it in anger. So I think if committee would allow, I would like to go back and speak to our commercial legal colleagues and get a written answer for you.
Okay, thank you very much. That would appear simply for me to ask if committee are happy with that suggestion from Amanda, in which case I guess it'll come back to us at a later date.
Thank you, Chair. I would certainly find that very helpful to have clarification.
Claire, please.
Oh, geez.
Sorry.
Sorry, Chair. It was just are we looking to defer the paper? If so, I wondered if we would want to check if there are any other questions to come back at the same time, just because I know the asset transfer process is quite time sensitive.
Okay. Sorry, Amanda, I interrupted you.
I was going to ask, is this similar to Claire? It was about the deferral, but I was going to ask if this is something that the committee are minded as is a primary consideration for them before deciding to approve, or is it just something they want clarification on and they can make a decision on the asset transfer today?
I've got hands from Councillor Crawley and Councillor Forsyth. John, please.
Yeah, just one. If you are going back to check on that, I mean, you're relying on their articles of association when they were set up, but they can be changed. So if they changed them, that would lose that clause anyway, surely, or the backup.
Warren, please.
Chair, I think just to clarify, I think the issue that, just to clarify the issue raised by Councillor McAllister, the standard security will remain in place anyway, whether it's a transfer, whether it's a sale. I think the main question here is how does the clawback provision relate to that transfer if it goes to another organisation? I think that's the point, because I think we're all clear as to how the standard security comes into play if the property is sold. That's easy. That's a straightforward security over the property that would need to be dealt with before any sale could take place. But the question that I don't know the answer to, and it appears that neither did Donna or Amanda, is if the property is transferred using the articles of association, whether it's as they stand at the moment or as they stand in the future, how does the clawback provision work in those circumstances? That's a question that I do not know the answer to. And that wasn't clarified by Donna, because Donna's information from legal deals with the sale of the property and the standard security. So I do think there's clarification just needed on if that transfer was to happen by this organisation to another organisation using their articles of association, how does that interplay with the clawback provision?
Yep. Councillor Forsyth, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm perfectly content with the construct of the terms and conditions of this transfer. For colleagues, the business of clawback are very, very common. It's not an extraordinary thing. It's not unusual, particularly in commercial terms. I've had experience of it before. Our legal colleagues will very quickly give you a summary that shouldn't prevent this particular paper going through this morning. It's not a particularly onerous thing to describe, you know, the terms and conditions of clawback. And so therefore I'd be content to see this paper going through with the fact that our legal colleagues will give us some comfort on the description of clawback. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On that basis that you are content, is there a seconder for that particular point of view? I'll turn to Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, I would very happily settle that. I asked the question as to whether it's an asset lock. It is, from my knowledge, and I'm more than satisfied that we should be able to proceed from here.
Are there any other points of view? It would appear we have Councillor Ritchie, please.
Sorry, Chair, I was a bit late in putting my hand up there. I think the general consensus, we need to progress this today and let the officials do check all the everything that they need to do, and we need to progress this and let this development happen today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other hands, so I think that would be a unanimous decision to let the transfer progress with the comments made about further clarification on the clawback position. Is that a fair summary?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Can I now turn to item 6, statement of outstanding business, and I'll turn to Sarah, please.
Hello. So hopefully the statement of outstanding business currently is quite straightforward. There were 3 items on there that you can see at page 119, all grouped under item 1, but 1, 2 and 3 are marked in your papers as hopefully complete and concluded based on information that was received and circulated with these in advance. Item 1 in here, we have received an update from colleagues in ENIS, and so hopefully also that one we can conclude today. This was shared yesterday and it was shared with all members, so hopefully you all have been able to see the wording of that particular item, and we can conclude that one as well. So as far as I've seen it, 1, 2 and 3 from that statement of outstanding business can all be considered closed at the moment, unless any members has anything extra that they would like to add. We will include the full wording of the update from ENIS in the minute for today for full transparency.
Thank you very much. I don't see any hands, so I am assuming that everybody is in agreement with that, and I just thank Sarah for her comments. Okay, I can now confirm that the public part of the meeting has concluded and that the recording will be stopped. Thank you for your interest. Committee, we will now proceed to